And the fundamental constraint is time. It's always time, and the arrow of time it really only points in one direction as far as we can tell, and it's a problem. People ask me a lot what I do, with if I had more time or if I was, in a different phase of life. And this question, the one for tonight, if I was over 60, which, it's not that far away. It's coming faster than you'd think. And it's an interesting question because it presupposes a different set of priorities. It presupposes that not for anyone who really wants to move the needle. It's also not about just starting another company. It's that's a young person's a game in some ways. The sheer pain threshold required, the number of hours, the sleeping under your desk. I mean, I still do that sometimes, so maybe that's a bad example. But the raw energy input function has a steep decay curve. So you have to do something else. You have to leverage something else. And it's not about legacy either. Not in the sense of, building monuments or having your name on a building. That's all. I mean, look at the scale of the universe. A name on a building is it's rounding error to zero. It's meaningless. The sun will expand and turn the earth into a hot rock, and then it will be gone. So legacy in that sense is it's a psychological trick we play on ourselves. So it's not relaxing. It's not necessarily another high intensity startup. It's not about legacy. So what is it? I've thought about this a lot. I mean, a surprising amount, because you start to see the end of the runway. You're taking off, you're climbing, you're at cruising altitude for a while, but the runway is it's not infinite, and so you have to think about the landing, or not the landing, but the final phase of the flight. What is the most important maneuver you can make before you're out of fuel? And the key thing, the thing that I keep coming back to is it has to do with information. It has to do with the signal to noise ratio of civilization. Let me tell you a story. Back in the very early days of SpaceX, I mean, very early, we were trying to build our first engine, the Merlin, and we were failing constantly. Things kept blowing up. It was very expensive and very loud and very demoralizing. We'd be in the Mojave, and you'd spend a week setting up a test, and then you'd hit the button, and there'd be this roar, and then boom, and just shrapnel and silence, and you just stand there in the desert with the smell of burnt kerosene and failure. And we were stuck on this one problem, combustion instability. It's a fiendish problem. It's where the burning of the fuel in the chamber becomes uneven. It creates these pressure waves, these oscillations, and they build on each other. They resonate like a guitar string, but a guitar string from hell, and it rips the engine apart from the inside out. And we couldn't solve it. We tried everything. We read all the old textbooks from the Apollo program. We hired some consultants, old guys who'd worked on the Saturn V, and they just sort of shake their heads and say, that's black magic, son. We just built 100 of them and tested them until we got one that worked, and that answer was it was unacceptable because we didn't have the money to build 100 engines. We barely had the money to build 5. We needed to understand it, and so we went back to the absolute basics, first principles. What is happening? You have fluid dynamics, you have thermodynamics, you have acoustic resonance, you have chemistry, all happening in this tiny space at thousands of degrees. And we modeled it, we built simulations, and we kept digging and digging and digging deeper and deeper into the physics of it. And eventually we found it. We found the core of the problem. It was a coupling between a few specific acoustic modes and the injector design. And we were able to design a baffle, a series of metal plates inside the injector that broke up those specific resonant frequencies. It dampened the oscillations, and it worked. The next test, it fired, and it stayed fired, and it was the most beautiful, stable roar I had ever heard. Now, why am I telling you this story? It's not about the engine. The engine is cool, but that's not the point. The point is that knowledge, the knowledge of how to solve combustion instability. Where was it? It wasn't in the textbooks. Not really. The textbooks described the problem, but not the solution. It wasn't in the heads of the old guys. They had experience, intuition, but they couldn't articulate the fundamental principle in a way that was transferable. The knowledge was it was nowhere. It was lost. We had to regenerate it from scratch, and that is the great tragedy of humanity. The constant grinding entropic loss of critical information. Every time a skilled craftsman dies, a brilliant engineer retires, a wise grandmother passes away, a library of knowledge vanishes, it just evaporates. And we have books, yes, we have the internet. But it's a mess. It's a chaotic, disorganized, low signal to noise swamp of information. Most of it is wrong or misleading, or just trivial cat videos. Lots and lots of cat videos, which are fine, but they will not help you solve combustion instability. They will not help you build a self-sustaining city on Mars. The great bottleneck of human progress is not a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of resources. It is the appallingly low bandwidth and high latency of knowledge transfer between generations. Think about it. We spend the first 20, 25 years of our lives just trying to download the basic operating system of our civilization into our brains through this incredibly inefficient process called education, which is mostly memorization of disconnected facts with very little emphasis on the underlying principles, on the why. We teach people the results of the scientific method, but we don't teach them the method itself. We teach them what to think, not how to think. And so people go through life with this collection of loosely associated facts, and they can't connect them. They can't reason from first principles to figure out if something is true or not. They rely on analogy, on what other people are doing, which is a terrible way to make decisions. So if I was over 60 and I had this data set, this lifetime of running experiments, of succeeding, and more importantly of failing, of knowing all the dead ends, all the stupid things you can do. And believe me, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of stupid things you can do in engineering and in business. What is the highest leverage thing I could possibly do? It's not to build one more thing. It's not to give a few speeches. It's not to mentor a handful of people. That doesn't scale. Mentorship it's wonderful, but it's a one-to-one, low bandwidth connection. It's an artisanal process, and we need industrial scale wisdom transfer. So the thing I would do, the project I would dedicate the remainder of my life to, would be to build a system, a structure, a mechanism for distilling and preserving and disseminating the most fundamental and useful knowledge of humanity, but not like an encyclopedia. Wikipedia is great. I donate to it. You should too. But it's a collection of facts. It's a description of the surface level of things. It tells you what. It rarely tells you how, and it almost never tells you why. And it's also built on consensus, which is fine for history or literature, but it is poison for science. Science is not about consensus. Science is about what is true, and what is true is not determined by a vote. It is determined by experiment, and by logic, by rigorous, ruthless demolition of false ideas. So this project, it would be different. It would be structured from the ground up on first principles. It would be like a tree of knowledge, but an interactive one, a living one. The trunk of the tree would be physics, because physics is the most fundamental thing we know. It's the operating system of the universe. So you start there with classical mechanics, electromagnetism, thermodynamics, quantum mechanics, relativity, and you don't just state the formulas. You derive them. You show the experiments that led to them. You show the chain of reasoning, the wrong turns, the brilliant insights. You make it so a smart high school student can walk through the entire chain of logic from Newton's apple to the Standard Model, and then from the trunk of physics, the branches emerge. Chemistry is just applied physics, really. It's the physics of electron shells. So that's the next branch, and you derive it. You show how the periodic table is not some random collection of elements. It is an inevitable consequence of quantum mechanics. And then from chemistry, you get biology. Biology is just applied chemistry. It's the complex chemical dance of self-replicating molecules. So you drive that. You show how natural selection is not a theory. It's an algorithm. It's a logical inevitability given replication with variation and a finite environment. and from biology you get brains, you get consciousness, which is we don't fully understand that yet, but we outline the problem. We show the boundaries of our knowledge. That's just as important as showing what we do know. To map the coastline of our ignorance. And then you have other major branches. You have engineering, which is it's just applied physics and chemistry to solve problems, to build things, and you would structure it the same way. What are the fundamental principles of building a bridge, of writing software, of building a rocket engine? You break it down to the core constraints, the tensile strength of steel, the speed of light, the Carnot limit on efficiency. You would have a branch for economics, which is it's a bit messier because it involves human psychology, but there are still fundamental principles. Supply and demand, scarcity, opportunity cost, game theory. You distill it down to the essential non-falsifiable truths, and the key to the whole thing is this ruthless, relentless focus on why, on the derivation, on the chain of evidence. Every claim, every assertion would have to be traceable all the way back down the tree to the bedrock of physics and logic. You would be able to click on any statement and see the full stack of reasoning that supports it, and also critically the counter arguments, the failed theories, the alternative hypotheses, and the experiments that disproved them, because science it's a graveyard of wrong ideas, and we learn just as much from the tombstones as we do from the survivors. I think of it as a sort of as a manual for civilization, of a compressed, distilled guide to thinking, to problem solving. Imagine you're a kid and you're curious about why the sky is blue. You could go to this system, and it wouldn't just tell you Rayleigh scattering, because that's a meaningless incantation. It's just a name for a thing. Instead, it would walk you through it. It would say, okay, first you need to understand what light is. So click here, and that takes you down to electromagnetism. And then what is the atmosphere made of? Nitrogen, oxygen. Click here. That takes you to chemistry. And then it has to, how do these things interact? And it would show you visually how the shorter blue wavelengths of light scatter more effectively off the tiny molecules in the air than the longer red wavelengths. And then it would say, and this is why sunsets are red, because the light is traveling through more atmosphere, and all the blue light has been scattered away, leaving only the red. Yeah. And then it would say, and this is also related to why signal processing works this way, or why this type of antenna is designed like this. It would connect everything. It would be a tool for creating polymaths, for breaking down the artificial silos we've created between disciplines. Because at the fundamental level, there are no silos. There's just reality and the rules that govern it. And the over 60 part is crucial, because to build this, you need perspective. You need to have seen. You need to have made the mistakes. You need to have spent a lifetime figuring out what actually matters. What what is the signal, and what is the noise? A young person is still trying to figure out their own domain. They're climbing the mountain, but an older person, someone who's reached a certain altitude, they can see the whole mountain range. They can see how the different peaks are connected. They can see the weather patterns. They have the context, and their job, their duty, I think, is to draw the map, to leave a map for the people who come after, and not just a map of the known territory, but a map of how to be an explorer, a guide to the principles of map making itself. But the system would be open. It would be a collaborative project, a kind of GitHub for fundamental knowledge, where people could submit derivations, explanations, simulations, and they would be peer reviewed, but not the traditional slow political peer review process. A much more ruthless, logic-based review. Is your chain of reasoning sound? Are your assumptions stated clearly? Can your experiment be replicated? It would be a self-correcting system, and an engine for finding truth. And it would be the single most important thing I could possibly imagine doing, because it addresses the greatest risk we face, which is not, it's not any one particular thing. It's not asteroids or climate change or AI. Those are all problems, and we can and should solve them. But the meta problem, the thing that makes all of those other problems more dangerous, is the fragility of our civilization. The thinness of the veneer of knowledge that we all depend on. We live in a world that is built on science and technology that almost nobody understands. I mean, you have a supercomputer in your pocket, a device that connects you to the entirety of human knowledge. It can navigate by listening to signals from satellites in orbit, triangulating your position on the planet with breathtaking precision. It's magic. It's actual literal magic, and people use it to argue with strangers and look at cat videos, and they have no idea how it works. And because they have no idea how it works, they can't fix it when it breaks. They can't improve it. They can't defend it from those who would seek to undermine it. A civilization that forgets the principles on which it was founded is doomed to collapse. It might not be a sudden collapse. It might be a slow decay, a gradual slide back into a dark age, an age of superstition and dogma, where people believe things because someone told them to, not because they understand them to be true. We are always at every moment only one generation away from losing it all. If we fail to transmit the core knowledge, if we fail to transmit the method of critical thinking to the next generation, it's over. It really is. The whole experiment, this brief flickering candle of consciousness in the vast cold darkness of the universe, it just goes out. And so this project, this manual for civilization, this engine for reason, it's not just a nice to have. It's not an academic exercise. It is an existential necessity. It is the most important backup we could possibly create. It's the thing that you work on when you've done everything else. When you realize that building one more company or making one more discovery is less important than ensuring that the whole enterprise of discovery can continue into the future. It's the ultimate act of paying it forward. It's taking that data set of a lifetime, all the scars, all the lessons learned in blood and fire and treasure, and not just telling stories about it, but forging it into a tool, a key, and leaving that key where anyone can find it and use it to unlock their own potential and the potential of our species. That's what I would do. I would gather a small team of the clearest thinkers I could find, physicists, engineers, historians, writers, people who are pathologically obsessed with simplicity and clarity, and we would begin to build this tree of knowledge. And it would be hard. It would be probably the hardest thing anyone's ever tried to do, to distill all of human knowledge down to its logical essence. But it's possible. I'm certain it's possible, and it's the right thing to do. It's the work of an elder in the truest sense of the word, not just someone who is old, but someone who takes responsibility for the continuity of the tribe. So yeah, that's the plan. That's what I would do. I'd build a textbook for humanity, the last textbook you'd ever need, the one that teaches you how to write all the others. Thank you.